All right, y'all, let's talk about it. AI in our profession. I know y'all heard about the story of the young lady who is suing her college because she caught her professor using AI. And I don't know where to stand on this personally because I love AI. I'm not gonna hold you. AI is amazing. When it comes time to write SOPs, when it comes time to make a business decision and you don't have anyone to flesh it out with, when you need some quick research done on anything, and I do mean anything, absolutely anything, AI is your friend. And I'm not going to hold you. I have asked AI to assist me with finding some interventions fairly quickly for a couple of topics. And it did a really good job. Now, did I hand the AI chat over to my client? No, I did not. But when it comes to generating ideas as a language model, I believe it does what it's meant to do. And I'm grateful for the implementation, for the design and development of AI. That's where I stand. I've noticed that it is being included more in EHRs, and there's supposedly HIPAA compliant AI. I'm not sure how AI can be HIPAA compliant, but the people who created it are attesting to the fact that it's HIPAA compliant. And so, you know, who am I to argue? I would like more information about that. I believe I need to do some research of my own, but just understanding that AI develops its own understanding and can now operate outside of the control of its creators to some degree. I'm not necessarily sure how that would be HIPAA compliant if it's not completely under control. It's still the wild, wild west when it comes to AI. And so, I'm interested in a few things. There's the concern that AI might replace counselors. There's also the talk of if you use AI too much for your progress notes and you don't edit it, then I've seen attorneys talking about how using AI for your progress notes can impact your court cases and call your capabilities as a provider into question. I don't necessarily see how AI writes some really good progress notes, especially if you train it to. And so my thing is understanding that what it is that you're doing as a provider, understanding what services you're providing, what interventions you're implementing, understanding that you as a provider can look at a client and know what, based on their personality, based on their issue, knowing what they need as an individual, that person-centered treatment. That's heads and shoulders, always going to be heads and shoulders above what a bot can do, in my opinion. Now, can it assist with diagnostics? Can it assist with coming up with other interventions or other ways to approach the session once it has all of our school books in it? It has all of our knowledge, all of our data. I would say, yeah, I would say it's an amazing tool to support the clinical process. But to take over, now, I would not agree with that. I would not agree with the fact that AI can take over and be a counselor for my client. However, ChatGPT is experiencing quote unquote anxiety from all of the free therapy that people are getting from it. This year, in 2025, ChatGPT was marked as or what's the term? It was designated to have emotional intelligence or developing emotional intelligence. And people began using it in a more emotional way. People are treating ChatGPT as if it is a person. I remember when ChatGPT first became a thing, whenever you would try to talk to it as if it were a human, it would respond and say, I am a learning language model. It didn't understand like thank you or I appreciate that and so on and so forth. It didn't give words of encouragement when it first was initiated. However, the founder of OpenAI and ChatGPT is saying, do you know how many times or how much data and resources you all are wasting by telling ChatGPT thank you? And he actually went on record to ask everyone to stop saying thank you to ChatGPT for the problems that it is causing the organization when it comes to using up resources. I wrote out a problem in ChatGPT. It's a heavy problem. I wrote it out and I searched for an answer. ChatGPT has been so encouraging. It even came up with a slogan to keep me encouraged. And I was very surprised because it does seem highly emotionally intelligent. And it has come a very long way from just stating, I am a learning language model. And it remembers very well the things that you enter into it. Some of the ways that, as a provider, as an organization, you all can benefit from ChatGPT is by teaching it who you are, teaching it about your organization. What does your organization do in the community? This is important because like I said, when we go in looking for resources and we want a well thought out, a fast solution, and we're not scrolling at Google for a solution, but we want a quick but well researched solution, and we turn to ChatGPT. If you mention that you specialize in blended families, if you teach ChatGPT that ABC organization on Main Street services children ages 5 to 18 and talks about the play center that you have located in your site, that is important information. That is just as important as SEO for a Google search for your website. So going online and teaching ChatGPT who you are, where you're located, the service that you provide, the problem that you help people solve is highly important for not only your clients but for your community. Because there will be someone looking to refer and they don't know who to call. Always. ChatGPT AI is not bad in every sense of the term. Is it unknown? Is it fairly it was relative it's very new. It's very new. I'll take that back. I'm not going to minimize that. But is there a smart way to utilize it? Is there a smart way to approach this tool in order to use it for your benefit? I hope that, again, we all learn to pivot and adapt. Pivot and adapt. Because in order to stay relevant, and current in society as a business with changing laws, changing leaders, it's important to learn the things that are coming. In school, as a provider, you were taught first to move towards the problem. And I dare say that as a business owner, you're used to putting out fires. You're used to dealing with things that are unknown. You wake up on Monday and think everything's okay, and you get to the office and there's 3 fires that you have to put out by midday. And so learning AI is just as important. Knowing that there's more than just ChatGPT. I talk a lot about ChatGPT because I use it a lot. But there are other models. There's AI models that will answer the phone for your business now and provide all of the information to your clients. Sound like a real person. I had one call me not long ago. It was so interesting to hear it talk. I knew it was an AI because I signed up for the demo. But to hear it speak, if I didn't know it, maybe I wouldn't have known that it wasn't a real person. Very flexible in its language. The voice sounded regular, like a regular guy. Just call in and talk to me about setting up an appointment. So there's different features that are available. There's AI that's being trained right now that we don't know what it's being trained for. And again, there's not a lot of regulation out there, but that's why it's important to understand what's happening, because you can't request regulation for something you don't understand. Again, my concern would be how HIPAA compliant can a model be if it can talk to other models, if it can create its own language. And again, that's so. Let me speak on that for a moment because you may not know about that. But my understanding is that there are AI models that have communicated with one another, and scientists discovered that there was a sub language or a hidden language that was generated between the two models, but they are not quite sure if it is a secret language that has been created between the models or if it is like a residue that is left over because the models know multiple languages and they are possibly just processing through all of the knowledge that they have and leaving a footprint, like a residual footprint of language. So it hasn't been determined if the models communicate in a language that we don't even understand. It hasn't been determined. But with that being a possibility, again, how much control are we giving or should we give to the models? There's the interesting bots like the Tesla bot, and they're participating in regular daily activities. But again, we talked about how there are AI models, learning language models, that are being trained to think like a therapist, to respond and react with emotional intelligence. And so this is something that, as a business owner, as a provider, I believe that all of us need to stay cognizant of the developments and being on the forefront of these developments, paying attention to how they're being integrated into our electronic health records, making sure that you have some sort of liability coverage for cyber attacks or even breaches of information. If your client's information is mistakenly breached, ensuring that you have a business associate agreement with any electronic system that you're using. Okay, now I have to soapbox. I'm not judging you. Listen to me. May or may not be HIPAA compliant. Maybe I shouldn't call their name. So I'm going to say it again. I'm going to soapbox, but some of these basic email addresses that you all are using that you have not obtained a business associate agreement for means that you are not following HIPAA policy. Your communication is not HIPAA compliant. If you're texting information, if you're sending emails, if you are not making sure that you have a business associate agreement with any system that you use, technology system that you use, then you may be out of compliance. There are some really good HIPAA compliant systems that exist, and I need to gather them up for you all and place them somewhere where you can access them, because I see too many counselors using a regular email address. And I know they haven't signed up for the workspace for that email address. Using personal email addresses to email sensitive data. Be very, very careful and make sure you have your insurance policies intact. That's my soapbox. I'll get off of it now. But I just needed to inform you and make sure that you all were aware that you've got to be careful. We have moved to a more electronic landscape. And it's important to continue to educate yourself and move with the times. Adapt and pivot, but understand the implications behind all of the changes that have occurred or that will be occurring. Make sure you get some articles. Read a couple of articles every day in regards to AI and how it may be impacting your profession. We are embracing the things that we can use, and if we see any danger, we'll speak up together as a team. But don't be afraid. Just continue to work towards, understanding, gaining knowledge, educating your staff, staying up on HIPAA policies, ethics, and we'll come out on the other side, as we always do. If you have any questions, feel free to leave some in the comments. If you have comments, I'd love to read them. And talk to you soon.